I think I'll talk about, of course, the services part, but I would like to encourage, I guess, the Linux Foundation and other people that when you, maybe carriers cannot do this. So what if you did a competing game to 3GPP saying, let's open up who can come up with the best algorithms for improving the spectral efficiency by 5 times. And if you made it an open source project and saying rather than 3GPP following, come up with algorithms, come up with this mechanism, come up with the formats and all that stuff, and open it up to thousands of, hundreds and thousands of people. And I bet you they will come up with better answers. They're better also all the machine learning algorithms, all the natural learning things which Google uses or Facebook uses. Just imagine if you all opened it up to scientists and signal processing engineers who are in the universities and PhDs and all of that stuff, they would come up with a lot better than what 5, 6 companies working together can come up with. So I think in general, there's a lot to be done. What we have been doing so far is still on the edge. It's still not solving our main problems. And the main problems have been more in the area of how this whole industry is very closed. So with that, I will just give you a quick, as Mavenir, we of course provide the core network. I will skip some of this part. But I think the issue is, just a quick, with Mavenir, I guess we had a company, or we bought a company called Eldiscon. And they were the first one who in 1995 did SMS. Because there's 2G on Vodafone network, there was the first SMS done in the whole industry. Of course, if you look about it, if all we have been in the industry, a lot of us, 20 years ago, and WhatsApp came and captured the whole thing in such a fast manner. And the reason they were able to do that because they didn't care about interoperability, they don't have following any standards. It was a peer-to-peer, and they just had a global market to themselves, right? Versus, I was showing it to Tariq. I come here, I turn on my phone, I'm a T-Mobile subscriber. I can't connect to Geo network, even now, here. Because there's no IoT done, there is no VoLTE roaming, there's none of this stuff done, right? So it's just the nature of the carriers by themselves cannot learn how to get away from themselves and open it up, right? So some of it is, I think, overall, the ecosystem and the knowledge base is not there. And the more difficult part for the carriers is going to be that things are going to get even more difficult. See, so far, just imagine, this phone was smaller than the network, but you're still dealing with phone. It has, it can do a lot more things, but it still has a certain requirement. It has, what battery is, what modem it does, and you're dealing with you built a network for one type of device. With 5G, it's going to be a different ballgame because now you have different type of devices. They will have different requirements on the physical layer. They will be addressing different use cases, right? Which means that now it has to become more flexible. And I was hoping at least, I thought as part of this industry, right, that maybe in this transition, people will get smarter. That they won't do this thing the same way the 2G, 3G was done or 4G was done. And it's exactly happened the same way. We wrote 5G specs written by 5, 6 vendors, Google, Facebook. None of those guys participated. It's done same players, Ericsson, Nokia, Samsung, Qualcomm, all those same players doing it exactly the same way. And it's going to become another cycle of this doing the same thing, right? So I think that's where, I believe there's now an opportunity that with the amount of people who will be using these networks and the amount of flexibility is required, then what Tariq is doing and all the work of separating out the software and the hardware will become even more important. So if you look at, I think, other speakers talked about it before me, and there are a lot of initiatives in the open source space, but they're all towards, after you're automating the network, reducing your cost of running the network, after you have deployed it in a proprietary way, right? It's one of those things that, the house is already built and you're figuring out how to polish it in a more flexible manner, right? And keep it clean. So to me, that's where most of the initiatives have been. And nobody has dared enough to solve, where do I spend most of my money and how do I make that flexible, right? And that's where I think, more work needs to be done. And that's, I think, because all these initiatives which are there, they are, of course, dealing with some of it is in the management layer, some are in the automation layer, some are in the transport layer, right? And they are also not addressing, the key, as I said, the key elements where you spend the money. So why it needs to change? Of course, new services are required. As I said, you'll be dealing with new sort of devices. Those devices will have new requirements, right? And it cannot be all addressed with the same way that people were doing it in the past. Of course, vendors anyway, there are very few left. And that's another part, right? In the past, people thought by being very close, they'll protect themselves. Everybody's hurting. Look at Ericsson, Nokia, everybody's hurting, right? So it's not that it really helped them. In fact, it is, it's like suffocating the industry itself.